Hi, everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so absolutely thrilled to have you all here. Today, as your supervisor, I want to take you on a really profound journey. Usually we focus so heavily on the clients, right? The families, the couples, the individuals sitting across from us in the room. But today, we're going to look inward before we even think about looking outward. We are diving deep into the practitioner, that's you, as both a person and a professional. We'll be drawing heavily on the brilliant foundational work of James Robert Bitter. So let's jump right into this, because what we're covering today is literally the bedrock of everything you will ever do in the therapy room.
You are the instrument that provides the catalyst for change. In relational counseling, you simply cannot separate the person you are from the professional you are becoming. Listen, no technique, no fancy theoretical framework, no clever little intervention will ever surpass the pure relational quality that you bring into the room. If you choose family practice, you are fundamentally choosing to work on and develop yourself. It's a package deal. And honestly, that brings us to a rather uncomfortable but totally necessary question. When you sit down in that counseling chair, who are you actually working with? Are you treating the family right in front of you, or are you actually reacting to your own family of origin? Think about it. If we don't examine our own family issues, our own triggers, they inevitably emerge as emotional reactivity right there in the session. We call this countertransference. You might suddenly find yourself feeling surprisingly angry at a distant father, or maybe overly protective of a rebellious teenager. Why? Simply because they're reminding you of your own unresolved history. Section 1. The instrument of change. To really tune this instrument, which again is you, so that it plays the right notes when you're with your clients, we have to look at this brilliant insight from Virginia Satir. She was one of the late great pioneers of family therapy. She used to say that if she walked into a room with 12 people, she would meet everyone she ever knew. What did she mean by that? Well, she meant that new families will inevitably trigger memories, both positive and negative, connected to our own family members. The people from your past that you're most likely to re-experience in your clients? Yeah, they're the people from your very own family of origin. So how do we actually handle this? Well, we work toward what Murray Bowen called a differentiated self. This is basically the ability to maintain a clear, grounded sense of exactly who you are while still remaining emotionally connected to the family you're helping. Developing this is our primary goal. A differentiated self allows you to stay calm and observe family dynamics without getting sucked into the family's emotional vortex. You remain present. You aren't reactive. Section 2. The Adlerian Systemic View. To really ground our personal development, let's look at the theoretical lens that guides our work. Alfred Adler represents a massive paradigm shift in psychotherapy, and as an Adlerian supervisor myself, I can tell you his ideas are absolutely foundational to family practice. He was thinking systemically way back in the 1920s, long before we even had the terminology for it. And you must make this exact same shift. See, Western counselors are often heavily trained in individual thinking, focusing on what's happening inside one person's head, the intrapsychic stuff, and how they cope. But to do this work effectively, you've got to adopt systemic thinking. This means focusing on transactions, mutual influence, and the spaces between people. Actually, scratch that. It's more like realizing that the space between people is where the real therapy happens. This is often the hardest adjustment for students to make, but it is entirely necessary. Central to Adler's whole systemic view is the concept of social embeddedness. This principle dictates that you can never, ever fully understand an individual in isolation. You just can't. You have to look at their social contexts, their family atmosphere, their birth order, and their daily interactions. Adler really focused on the whole person moving through life. When you look at your clients, and crucially when you look at yourself, you must see the whole interconnected web. And this leads us to one of my absolute favorite Adlerian concepts: teleology. This is the study of intended purposes and goals. See, Adlerians don't just look for sickness or pathology. Instead, we believe that all behavior has an intended purpose and a use. When a problem pops up in a family, we don't just ask, what's broken? We ask, what is the goal of this behavior? Every single complaint contains a hidden hope. By listening teleologically, we transform problem statements into interactions, and that is what helps us uncover the true motives driving a family's behavior. It is a real game changer. Section 3. Mapping your family origins. Okay, so understanding these systemic concepts is great theory, but how do we apply it to ourselves? Well, it's time to do the actual investigative work on your own history.
A great way to do this is with Jim's Wheel of Influence, which was popularized by Virginia Satir's work. It's like a giant map of your personality. You put a star representing yourself right in the center, and you draw spokes radiating outward to various family members, mentors, and friends. Then you attach a specific quality to each one. So, for example, your father might be labeled patient, your mother social, a mentor caring. By mapping these out, you visualize exactly who influenced your own traits. I highly, highly encourage you to draw one of these for yourself. It is wild to see whose voices and traits are actually living inside you.
As you map this all out, really consider your siblings. We often find our initial place in the world in relation to them, right? So I want you to pause and ask yourself a crucial question. Which sibling are you most unlike? In what ways? And what meaning do you associate with those differences? If you're the responsible one and your sibling is the carefree one, how is that dynamic going to play out when a similarly carefree client walks into your office? Are you going to judge them, or will you actually understand them? To prevent your own unfinished business from bleeding into your clinical sessions, you have to use the tools available for self-exploration. Build a 3-generation genealogy, draw your wheel of influence, create family timelines that map out births, deaths, and major historical events. And yes, absolutely engage in your own personal counseling. Reach out to family members, conduct interviews, ask the hard questions. You have to do the work so that when you sit with a family, your internal space is clear and ready for them.
Section 4. Finding your pace. So once you've started clearing out some of that family baggage, we need to talk about how you actually show up in the room. This is all about the flow, the rhythm, and the energy of the therapeutic relationship. Before you ever even greet a family, you need a centering process. Virginia Satir was a master at this. Step 1, center the body through deep, intentional breathing. Take air into the center of your body and literally exhale to let go of distress. Step 2, actively release your projections. Let go of whatever you think you know about the family based on those intake forms. Step 3, focus entirely on the clients with genuine, pure fascination. You aren't there to judge, you are there to discover. And this centering builds directly to the single most important quality in family practice, presence. Being fully present means tuning into your senses. What are you seeing, hearing, and feeling in the room right now? If you were sitting there frantically worrying about what technique to use next, or wondering if you look competent enough, well, you've lost contact with the family. Presence is what actually facilitates change. To help structure this flow, Jim Bitter created the PACE framework. P stands for purpose, which is drawn from that Adlerian directionality we talked about, knowing the meaning behind the behavior. A is awareness, recognizing yourself and others in the moment, very Gestalt. C is contact, making authentic connection in the here and now. And E is experience, which involves enactments and validating the client's lived reality. Combining Adlerian purpose with this deep experiential presence gives you a really steady, creative rhythm for your interventions. Section 5. Courage to be imperfect. Okay, I know everything we've discussed so far might feel like a huge, heavy burden. You have to be fully differentiated, perfectly present, completely aware of your systemic biases. It's a lot. I want to relieve some of that pressure right now. You do not have to be perfect. As Sophie Lazarsfeld and early Adlerians championed, having the courage to be imperfect is having the courage to be human and to be ourselves. You are going to make mistakes as a practitioner. It's a guarantee. You will risk a guess that is totally wrong. You'll use a faulty interpretation. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. Admitting an error and correcting it with a family actually builds a truly human, authentic therapeutic relationship. You don't have to be perfect to be incredibly helpful. And honestly, to sustain this courage and to sustain your career, you absolutely must have a life of your own outside the therapy room. This intense relational work can so easily lead to burnout if you let it consume you. Cultivate your hobbies, read history, play sports, engage in your community. An enriched, grounded personal life provides the essential interpersonal support you need to do this draining, beautiful work effectively. Self-care is not a luxury, folks. It is a strict clinical requirement. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Next time you grab the doorknob to the counseling room, I want you to pause for just a second and ask yourself, when you walk into that room, what will your presence bring to the family? Will it be your unexamined past, or will it be a differentiated, fascinated, and deeply human presence? Take ownership of your personal growth, students, because it is, without a doubt, your single most powerful clinical tool. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next session.